Hi everyone, this is Bill Leith. I'm training at my home gym / wood shop today, and I'd like to share with you 6 techniques that I recommend beginner students practice on the Makiwara. Let's get started. Like we talked about on my previous video on using the Makiwara, it's important when training to focus on striking with the proper surface of the technique, making sure everything is properly aligned, make sure you're developing power from your entire body, and working on striking through the surface of the Makiwara for developing power. And of course, like we talked about there, you can do these techniques starting off slow, and then you can progress to hitting it heavier. So the first technique we're going to practice is the basic straight punch, making sure that I'm hitting with these 2 knuckles, the front 2 knuckles on my hand. For this technique here, I recommend setting up right to the Makiwara, make sure everything's aligned, chambered the opposite hand to the side, and then retract your punch, extending the other hand out, and switch. As you're punching into the Makiwara, make sure you're engaging your hips. At the same time, you're pulling back with the opposite hand. You can imagine grabbing something, pulling in, and striking them at the same time. So I could be grabbing someone's arm, pulling them off balance, and then striking with my fist. We're going to be focusing on 3 main techniques today and an alternative to those techniques. So an alternative to practice with the straight punch is our hooking punch. So the same concept applies here, where I'm making sure that as I strike, my wrist stays straight, but now I'm just going to focus on hooking in from the side, and again, using my whole body for that strike, setting up so that I'm torquing from the rear foot to the forward foot into the pad. So here, I can even have this hand up, pull it back to my side, or keep it up in Sanshin. The choice is yours. From the side, hook in, press through the pad, retract back. As you're striking the Makiwara, try not to bounce off the surface. If you're bouncing, it shows that you're not hitting through and penetrating your target. So if I'm doing this hook punch and my hand is bouncing out, I want to slow down, make sure I'm pushing in, and work on the technique that way. The next technique we're going to focus on is our Bushiken, or palm strike. I actually usually start most beginner students who are new to the Makiwara with the palm strike because it's most forgiving of the techniques we'll be training today. When using the palm strike, you want to keep your fingers tight, tuck your thumb in, and that's going to tighten up the bottom portion of your palm, which you'll be using for the strike. As we're hitting the Makiwara, there's 2 main ways of doing this strike. I can be hitting my hand palm up like this or down like this. We're going to focus today like this. This is, I feel, the easiest way for beginners to practice the strike. I'm going to do the same thing I would with my straight punch. Pull it down to the side, hit into the surface, and push through a little bit. Again, pull back. Like with the straight punch, it's really important when we're using the palm strike to the Makiwara that we focus on what position our wrist is in. We want to make sure as we're striking that the wrist doesn't get bent back too far on the strike, which could lead to injury. So when I'm doing this strike, I try to position myself in a way where I can strike the Makiwara without too much bend in the wrist. And I want to focus on the energy traveling up my forearm as I strike, not hitting up with the top of the hand, which will help bend that arm back. Again, if you start getting a lot of pain in your wrist, make sure you're tightening up on impact, and maybe change the position of your height as you strike. If you have different height Makiwaras, it always helps with the type of strikes you're doing. Or you can switch to more of a side strike as well at the same time to see how that feels. Our variation for the palm strike is a sideways strike, coming in like we would, similar to a hook punch or a Teisho-Uchi. But I'm going to twist the hand in this way. Imagine striking the jaw or boxing the ears with the strike can be a very, very effective self-defense move, especially if you're not flailing your arm like this, but engaging your whole body, letting your elbow come out for a second, and then hooking inward. This technique can lead into, like I said, a palm strike, or can come in for a forearm strike at the more advanced level. When performing the Bushiken sideways, again, I'm going to pull to my side here. I'm going to use my whole body coming in from the feet, using the hips, off the shoulder, and then hitting the pad, hitting the Makiwara with the same part of the hand we talked about here, right below the thumb, where it's nice and tight. So as I hit, I want to hit through the pad, striking in. It's basically a slap, but with flair. The last 2 techniques we're going to talk about today are the Shuto and the reverse Shuto. With the Shuto, I'm going to keep my fingertips nice and tight. My striking surface this time is the edge of the hand here. And I want to make sure when I'm hitting the Makiwara that I'm avoiding hitting from the knuckle of the pinky on up. So as I'm striking, I'm going to bring my hand up, create a 90-degree angle. I'm going to drop my elbow down, swinging the Shuto in. It always helps to keep your fingers nice and tight for this technique. You want to tighten up the hand as much as possible. Keep the wrist nice and straight. Here, pull in. Up, drop it down. The alternative version for the Shuto to practice is the reverse Shuto. So off my forward foot, I'm going to bring in the same part of my hand into the pad here, but I'm going to drop from the opposite side. Again, I want to focus on dropping my body weight a little with both these strikes. With both the Shuto and the reverse Shuto, the technique starts up here. Whether I start at the basic 90-degree angle, hand to the side of my body, or I'm in a little closer and I'm striking from here, I want to develop power by dropping into the strike, bending my legs, and using my hips. With the reverse Shuto, it's the same thing. I'm just going to start across, right by my opposing shoulder, not touching it, but a little in front of the body, and then I just drop in as I do the strike. So I'm here with the technique. I'm going to bring my hand up and then drop it in. So I bring it up, I drop it down, drop, drop, and that's your reverse Shuto. At the end of the technique, if I want to practice a more realistic fighting position, I can bring my hand and elbow back to my fighting stance or my sanshin position versus leaving my hand out here where I'm vulnerable to attack and just in an unrealistic position for fighting. And that's something you can do with all these techniques. If I'm doing my hook punch, for instance, I can strike from sanshin and practice the technique, or I can retract and strike and pull back each time, or I can do a combination. I can retract, hit, bring back, retract, hit, bring back. Same with any technique. Punching, for instance, I can start from this position and strike. I can start from here, pull back, strike. Or as I get more comfortable and confident with the technique, I can step back a little bit and just practice striking right from my sanshin position. Utilizing my whole body for the technique so I can develop better form and be able to strike strong from any position that I'm fighting in or my hands are in. Thank you for watching this video. I really hope you found it beneficial and helpful. Like I talked about with my previous Makiwara video, listen to your body as you're training. If something really starts hurting as you're practicing on the Makiwara, slow yourself down, lighten up a little bit, and don't ruin tomorrow's workout with today's. If you enjoyed this video, please do me a huge favor and like it, leave a comment on what you'd like to see next, and subscribe to this channel. Until I see you next time, train hard.